chapter 44, verse
Here comes Larry.
16. All right. We'll start with me and we'll go this way to Dawn. All right. 16. And Judah said, "What shall we say to my Lord? What shall we speak, or how can we clear ourselves? God has found out the guilt of your servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and he also, in whose hand the cup has been found."
17. But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace."
18. Then Judah went up to him and said, "Please, my lord, let your servant speak a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you were equal to Pharaoh himself."
19. My lord asked his servants, "Do you have a father or a brother?"
20. And we answered, "We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him."
21. Then you said to your servants, "Bring him down to me, that I may set my eyes on him."
22. And we said to my lord, "The boy cannot leave the father. If he leaves him, his father will die."
23. But you told your servants, "Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again."
24. When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my lord had said.
25. Then our father said, "Go back and buy a little more food."
26. And we said, "We cannot go down. If our youngest brother goes with us, then we will go down. For we cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us."
27. Your servant, my father, said to us, "You know that my wife bore me 2 sons.
28. One of them went away from me, and I said, 'He has surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since.'
29. If you take this one from me too, and harm him comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery.
30. So now if the boy is not with us when I go back to your servant, my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up in the boy's life."
31. As soon as he sees that the boy is not with us, he will die, and your servants will bring down the gray hairs of your servant our father with sorrow to Sheol.
32. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, "If I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life."
33. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the lad, a slave to my lord, and let the lad go up with his brothers.
34. For how shall I go up to my father if the lad is not with me, lest perhaps I see the evil that would come upon my father?
All right, that had said we'll go on, but let's stop there and regroup. So the guys have gone back to Egypt, right? And Joseph has set them up again by putting his silver cup in Benjamin's bag. Okay? And so the servant comes and overtakes them and calls them on the carpet, and they're back before Joseph. And Joseph has said, "Didn't you know that I can do divination by this cup?" Well, he, being a solid Hebrew, he probably hadn't done any divination. And so it looks like Benjamin, the youngest, is guilty here, right? And so Judah steps up here, and Judah, that's right, Judah steps up here because he had in the previous chapter 43 said, "We got to go back down there. I will vouch for Benjamin." That's what he said to Jacob. So Judah's putting himself in the way here. He is doing what the oldest brother, Reuben, should have done. But Reuben is not doing it. Simeon is not doing it. Levi is not doing it. The fourth born well, the fourth born of the unfavored woman is doing it, right? And so he has stepped up before his father, Jacob, Israel, and has vouched. And then when he made his case, he said, look, if we take Benjamin, it'll save you and us and our children. So Jacob's finally like, all right. So they go back down, they take all the money, and Joseph is still putting this plan together, right? And then they come, he sends them away, plants the cup and the money and the food and whatever, you could read it. And then they finally get back, they get overtaken, and Joseph says, what is this deed that you have done? There in 15. And then Judah starts to speak up. And what does Judah basically do in his speech? So this is like from 17 to...
Well, he's kind of putting the guilt on Joseph, saying, if Benjamin is left here, it'll kill the dad because they're...
Okay. So he's mentioning that if we leave, he's pleading with Joseph, if we leave Benjamin here, it'll make my dad very sad. Now, you said putting the guilt on Joseph. There's also a different way of looking at it, which is he didn't seem to care when Joseph was in the pit about what effect it would have on Jacob, right? So when you read through this, and this is one of the key, it's a very obvious story of reconciliation, this whole Joseph thing. And so that's one of the things that the resources that I use kind of pointed to, is that earlier he didn't care about Joseph. He didn't care about the effect of losing Joseph on his father. Now he's going to bat for Benjamin. Look, if Benjamin doesn't go, if we lose Benjamin, it will kill my father. And so this is probably leading to Joseph's understanding. Throughout the story, they've understood that all this stuff that's happening to them as they're going back and forth to Egypt and being fed and being caught and being questioned has something to do with how they treated Joseph, right? And so here, Judah, not only has he vouched with Jacob for the life of Benjamin, he's also making the case that Benjamin is special enough that his dad would die. All right?
As much as I hate to play devil's advocate for these guys, and I do think it's devil's advocate, it's been 20 years, and there's a slim possibility that they have gotten better over time.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much better, but it has been 20 or so years since the pit.
You could make the case. I'm not convinced.
Neither am I. Not in the slightest. But there's a possibility. The fact that Reuben didn't do it. I keep coming back to the thought: these are not good people.
That's the only people that the Lord has to work with.
Right.
Actually. And, I think it might be in one of the prophets, can the leopard change his spots? The answer is no, the leopard can't, but the Lord can. Right? The leopard can't change the leopard's spots, but the Lord can.
I think, I'm sorry. I think Joe also felt guilty because he was the one that made the decision to sell him. It's like, what's not going to be a profit to us,
Right.
Just
we're
dies
leaving money
in
on the
there.
table.
Yeah.
This doesn't make good economic sense. Why kill him when we could sell him, right? So yeah, and I think you see some character growth in Jacob's family here. So now Judah's saying, look, Judah is demonstrating that he does care what is the effect that this spoiled little Benjamin brat, the loss of him would have on his father, which I think speaks to Judah's maturity.
Or do you think he just...
Do you think he's just scrambling?
Yeah.
Maybe.
They're making, this kid is he's kind of like Joseph. Get rid of him. Go ahead.
Well, and from Joseph's point of view, he might be testing them to see, look, they got rid of me with no problem. Will they get rid of Benjamin with no problem? And when they came the last time, or when they brought him, he gave Benjamin 5 times the amount of food from his table. And I think that was part of the test, was to see if they're still, and even Jacob had said, I've only got one son left, right? Now, you know, to try to be charitable with Jacob, Israel, maybe he just meant he's the only one still left at home. You guys are doing quite well, right? But it's still clear that Jacob has his favorites, right?
They know. They know.
So, and it's interesting there in verse 24, when we get back to your servant, my father, so he's being deferential here. Look, Judah knows what position they're in, right? So not only these 10 knuckleheads and the youngest brother are there with him, being the servant, but even dad is going to be your servant. You know, even dad, who's not even here, he's deferential, okay? So, so he makes the case there, I think, and what does he do there in 32 and 33?
He's taking the blame if something happened to Benjamin.
Is this Judah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, let the boy go and let me stay in his place.
So that's a gospel principle there, a substitution.
Well, maybe the Holy Spirit was working in him
My life
because
for his.
But why Judah?
he's from Christ. The line comes from
He's the
Judah.
No,
line
I
from the
know.
tribe of Judah.
But why is Judah doing this? Why not?
Why not Reuben, Simeon,
Who knows?
Levi,
You got the Holy Spirit.
Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Dan,
It's the
Issachar,
only thing that
Zebulun?
makes sense.
I don't know.
My sinuses just go crazy for a little while after I eat.
Well, I
So
thought maybe you could.
no, I appreciate it though.
You know, in this particular story, and Judah had also had a run-in with his daughter-in-law earlier, right?
Oh, he's with Tamar, right? Yeah. Okay.
He got duped into providing his own grandchild from his own loins, right? And says she's more righteous than I. So Judah has, in this long section, is being humbled a lot,
Yeah.
or at least 2 major times, right? But I don't, to answer the immediate question, why Judah?
A long way.
I don't know.
And is he just saying this, or did this actually happen?
What?
He's saying, I told my dad, if I don't bring him back, I will bear the blame.
Yeah, he did do that at the end of
Yeah.
43.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So he has vouched. So 2 times with Jacob and with Joseph, he said, "Let my life be for his,"
Okay.
which is a gospel principle. My life for yours. My life for yours. All right. So he says, how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I fear to see the evil that would find my father. He wasn't all that concerned about the evil that would find his father when he was selling his brother Joseph off, right? All right, here we are in chapter 45. We'll start in 1 and we'll go this way again. Verse 1. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers.
Number 2, and he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it.
3. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence.
4. Joseph said to his brothers, please come near to me. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom you sold into Egypt.
5. And now do not be distressed, and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you.
6. For 2 years now there had been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will not be plowing and reaping.
7. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
8. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh and lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt.
Number 9. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all of Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay.
9. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay.
10. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near to me, you and your children, your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have.
11. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute.
12. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you.
13. Tell my father about all the honor accorded me in Egypt, and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly.
14. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck.
15. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterwards his brothers talked with him.
16. Now when the news was heard in Pharaoh's house that Joseph's brothers had come in, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants.
17. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and depart, go to the land of Canaan.
18. And bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land.
19. You are also directed to tell them, do this, take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come.
20. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours.
21. The sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey.
22. Then each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes.
23. To his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread, and sustenance for his father on the journey.
24. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed, and said to them, see that you do not become troubled along the way.
25. So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan.
26. They told him, Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt. Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them.
27. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, and the spirit of their father Jacob revived.
28. And Israel said, it is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die.
Ah.
What's that?
And who said?
Israel.
Israel.
They changed his name. Same guy.
Since you mentioned it, and since it came up, I've always got my eyes out for that. The commentary that I used touched on it very, very briefly, and it said Act 3, which starts in according to their division, chapter 42, opens with Jacob speaking to his sons. By the close of Act 3, the narrator refers to the father's name as Israel to speak of his strength and leadership as he leads the embryonic nation to Egypt, and Jacob to speak of his weakness and dependence on God and his sons. So I don't think that, certainly Bruce Waltke didn't spend a lot of time on it, and I think I asked Grok one time, and Grok didn't seem to give me anything that I felt was confident enough in to actually talk about it. But again, it would make an interesting thing if you were to read the whole story over again and notice when it says Jacob and see what's going on around it, and notice when it says Israel and see what's going on around it, and that might give you some clues. All right?
I don't know about anybody else's Bible. Then at the top of chapter 46, is there a headline on?
Yeah, Joseph makes himself known.
On mine it says Jacob goes to Egypt.
Oh, 46?
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
what
top,
is-
top of
Oh,
is the
yeah,
fir- what
mine
is the-
goes, Jacob goes.
What does the
Egypt.
first verse actually say?
So Israel.
So, you know, that would be interesting. Somebody somewhere has probably commented on it.
I'm
It's
sure
just a matter
somebody
of
did,
finding
probably their PhD on
it.
it.
Probably a PhD.
46:2, and God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob.
There you go. There you go.
Anyway,
All right, so we
that's
go back.
another day.
So Judah's speech being, I would make the case, because in the chapter breaks here, right? I would always try to include Judah's speech in this chapter because I think that's that's Joseph's breaking point. I would try to make that case that Judah's speech, his concern for Jacob, Israel, and his concern for Benjamin, and to the degree of him being willing to trade his life for Benjamin's life. I think that is when Joseph could not control himself. He's put together this plan to test his brothers to see if they're still see if they're trustworthy, which they're, you know, at least a year, to see if his father's still alive, to see if they would throw Benjamin under the bus. Judah's not willing to throw Benjamin under the bus, right? Or at least he says he's not. And so I think this is the apex here, and this is where Joseph breaks. I don't mean this is where Joseph, I don't know if it's right to say it breaks him, but you know what I'm saying. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, and then he sends everyone away. Who does he send away there?
All the Egyptians.
All the Egyptians. Now, interesting question. Why would he do that?
Because he's still not.
He's not Egyptian.
Yeah.
He's a Hebrew. They
Right.
know he's a Hebrew.
Hebrew, yeah.
Yeah, and we saw that a little bit.
What's gonna take place though is family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Okay,
yeah.
so
It's-
When family needs to be alone to deal with stuff, they don't want others around.
So conceptually, he is no longer going to be an Egyptian
right.
because he was never an Egyptian, right? But this is family business. This is not courtly business. This is family business. This is not my job business. And so,
And he probably doesn't want the people under him to see him crying.
okay, so there was a quote here. It said the Egyptian wisdom literature praised a cool, controlled spirit. Now the Egypt's wisest man gives expression to a higher expression of authentic passion. So that's what the commentator said, that you know, in the ancient Near Eastern world, it was the domain of children to run, right? The elder does not run, and that's why when the father in the parable of the prodigal going out to run to meet the son, that was an undignified thing because the paterfamilias does not get in a hurry, right? And that shows. So here in the Egyptian wisdom literature, you think it's probably not technically true, but we would just gloss it as saying stoic. To be stoic, to be the one in charge, to be stoic. Well, here, Egypt's wisest man is going to show that what true passion is, what's appropriate in this situation. Okay? So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And until then, how had he been speaking to his brothers?
As an Egyptian.
Well,
as an
through-
Egyptian,
through an
through
interpreter.
an intermediary. So he's removing that intermediary also. And, you know, and again, it'll be interesting to see how the sight and sound people do it, if he's always, you know, when he interacts with his brothers, if he's always 50 yards away from them, right? Because at a certain distance, you wouldn't be able to tell if he's got his garb on, even if you remembered what his face looked like as you were throwing him in the pit, right?
Yeah, right.
So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. So no longer is he using this intermediary, and he puts himself as a family member of the covenant, right? He's removing the barriers between himself and his brothers.
I wondered if he and Benjamin looked alike.
Maybe so. They might look like their mama,
Yeah.
right?
Or one could look like Mama, one look like Dad. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know. And then so he weeps aloud, so that the Egyptians heard it and the household of Pharaoh heard it. So,
But they really were cousins too, because they were sisters. See, it kind of gets weird. Yeah,
once
you
again,
know?
one man, one woman.
Yeah,
you can,
right,
You don't
yeah.
avoid every single problem in the universe, but you can avoid a lot of them.
Too,
right?
so. And sometimes cousins look alike. So I mean, he could look like one of the other brothers.
And so this weeping isn't something that, you know, the previous time that he began to weep, maybe, or whatever, he went
He
to the
ran
other
in,
room,
yeah.
right? So now this is open, such that, I mean, you might think of like what they call an ugly cry. You know, there's a bit of tearing and lip quivering that's one kind of crying, but an ugly cry is
Yeah,
a wailing and a moan.
wailing because they all heard it.
Yeah, so this isn't some, he wept loudly, okay?
No.
And what's he do there in 3?
Tells his brothers who he is.
So this is the disclosure, right? The mask is off. And who does he ask about?
Yeah.
Yes,
But
but his
he told-
father.
But he always
that
asked
doesn't-
about him. He always asked about him.
Yeah, but he calls him my father here,
Yeah.
right?
That seems strange to me though, because you know they've been talking about, well, you know, if you take Benjamin, then our father is gonna die of grief, and
You know, it might also be an indicator of, well, the game is up now, right? I'm not gonna pretend like I don't know you, I'm not.
Right.
Look, I've dropped all my things. I've dropped all my pretenses.
is he really
You
still
dropped
alive?
yours, his father's still alive. Because there was probably like a year in between the time that they came the first time and the second
Oh,
time.
okay.
Because if you go
Yeah.
back, like when I first started thinking about this, I thought like going through the drive-through and getting a bag of food like this big. That
No.
would last like a week.
Yeah.
Right? But I think when you work the chronology out, you know, it was 10 of them going back with sacks full.
And how far is Canaan from
I
Egypt?
think it might be, it's a haul.
Oh, and they're walking. They're not
Yeah.
taking
So-
a car.
So, and he says there's still 5 more years left of the famine.
Yeah.
So in the
that's
first
2
year of the
years,
famine,
yeah.
I think they came, right. So it's been a while
Okay.
since they've been back. But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. So can you imagine what was going on with them?
Oh.
Like
He's gonna kill us.
any number of things,
Yeah.
right? Okay, now the gig is really up. Because we have come face to face with this guy that we threw in the pit and then sold him off.
It could be 500 to 600 miles. I just
500
looked
to
them.
600 miles.
Yeah, well, when you're going on foot,
Yeah.
it take a while.
Yeah.
Those camels don't go fast.
Yeah, probably a couple months trip to.
Yeah, probably.
Use
few
up all the
months.
food.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm hungry.
And so here they're shocked, you know. This is the guy that's been kind of horsing around with us. That's our brother. we thought this was the judgment of God on us, and it was.
Mhm.
But this is also our brother. They probably thought, I mean, some of them thought maybe he had been dead by now, right? There's a lot of things. But the point is they were shocked. We don't know exactly all the reasons.
When we watch a movie, we'll get to a point like this and we call it the oh crap moment.
Yes.
Oh crap,
Yes.
you're our brother, you're still alive.
I've had things like that happen to me and my body flushes nearly instantaneously. And it's one of those moments. So I can imagine that's what they're having. So Joseph says to his brothers there in verse 4, "Come near to me, please." And they came near. So he's removing the barrier again, right? And he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt."
It sounds like maybe there could have been something else done. This one was sold in Egypt. Okay, I'm the one that you sold. Is there, is there somebody else that along the way that you
Right,
got
right.
rid of?
Well, I think he's been testing them all along with regard to Benjamin, right? But he knows Benjamin's there. But, right, I'm the one that you sold. I'm your brother Joseph. Like he's trying to convince them that it's actually him. I'm not dead. As a matter of fact, you've been dealing with me for a while. I'm your brother. Okay? Then verse 5. What's going on there?
So don't be angry or distressed because you sold me. Because it was to save lives. It was God whose plan it
Okay.
was.
In this statement, Joseph is tracing the ultimate cause, right?
God had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
God had a plan.
Because even before you threw me in the pit,
He knew.
God had told me what was going to happen. I told you, and that's why you threw me in the pit.
Well, I don't think he
Right.
knew. I don't think he knew when he was in the pit. But
So it is a big jumble of things going on here. So put yourself in Joseph's shoes. What would it take for you to say that to your brothers who had wronged you in such a way?
well, he had to know it was God's plan. I mean, how could you forgive your own brothers selling you?
And that might be another reason, it might be that up there in verse 1, that all the pieces are starting to click for Joseph,
Yeah.
right? Look, you guys meant this for evil, but God, look at what God is doing in this moment, right? We don't know for sure.
Joseph might not have felt that way when he was in the prison.
He might not have
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
felt that way until 46 or until 45:1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It might have all just clicked right then for him. Or, he knew about the dream, and his brothers had already come and bowed a couple of times, right? But, so the Lord isn't simply working in the brothers and in Jacob. The Lord's been working in Joseph too, I think. Because he says, and he doesn't minimize what they did. Okay? So sometimes in reconciliation and confession of sin, if you're the one confessing, we are more concerned with getting over our discomfort than we are with acknowledging the wrong that we've done to somebody. Right? And that's not the way it should be, but that's the way it often is. And then he doesn't minimize what they did, but he's also not holding it against them here. He didn't say, you sold me in, now it's your turn. Which is what we would call justice. Right?
And mercy.
He is showing them mercy. He is showing them mercy.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the transition for Joseph, he was in prison, and God gave him the interpretation of the dreams of his fellow prisoners, and the one was restored back into Pharaoh's service and forgot about him, and so he spent another 2 years as a prisoner until God's timing, gave Pharaoh that dream and everything, and then the guy remembered, oh yeah, there's this guy in prison, he knows how to interpret dreams. So I think that all would have had an effect on Joseph, because he went from being a prisoner, a nobody, with no prospect, to being the second most powerful person in Egypt. And he got a wife as part of that deal, and he had a couple of kids and everything. And so here's a guy that's got money, authority, and everything, because he's doling out shekels of silver and all kinds of grain and everything. And
Yeah,
so that's gotta have an effect on you.
yeah, he experienced a lot of elevating and humbling. When he first got the dream in his mind, that probably elevated him. When his brothers couldn't stand him, that probably humbled him in a number of ways, right? And he gets out of the pit, and it's just up and down and up and down and up and down for him. Okay. The commentator Bruce Walke says Joseph directs their gaze away from their sin to God's grace here. What do you think about that?
That's a good statement.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
no,
pretty good.
right, yeah.
And he actually does it 2 times. Where's the other time?
But when they're on their way and he says, don't quarrel.
Well, that's one.
Yeah, like
So
don't
yeah,
blame
3
each
times.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also in 7 and 8 there, right?
Yeah, it was not you. For then it was not you who sent me here, but God.
Right. So, certainly, the brothers should not take away from this experience. It's pretty good to sell your brother into slavery in Egypt, and we should do it again.
We maybe should go to another country and do it.
In the words of Paul, should we sin more that grace may abound? And he says, by no means. Right? In the King James, he says, God forbid, even though that's not in the text. That's not in the Greek, probably. But the lesson that we take from grace is not that we should sin more to earn more grace. Titus says, the grace of God has appeared to all men, teaching us, training us to renounce ungodliness. Okay? The kindness of God meant to lead us to repentance isn't also meant to lead us into sin more. I put it that way. So, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, verse 5, because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. Now, when it says life, what is he talking about?
Well, it could be talking about the lineage of God.
So that is yes, and that is down there in verse 7. To keep alive for you many survivors or a great deliverance. But what else is going on there in verse 5 with preserving life? Because we've been so focused on the covenant line, it's kind of hard to see this.
Are you thinking of a more wide-ranging effect? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it says it earlier, it said that the famine wasn't just related, in Egypt, it was
Right.
all over the Middle East. So Joseph's, what he was doing was actually preserving life for all different peoples.
Right. So him preserving the life of the covenant line, we would call special grace, right? Him preserving the lives of all the Egyptians and everybody who would come around to buy the food is a common grace. It's not the same, right? The Lord didn't set his affections on Egypt like he set his affections on Abraham's family. But that is common grace. The Lord was using Joseph so that the rain would come on the just and the unjust alike. All right? So that is, and again, this is one of these major swinging points here. We see the sovereignty of God and the responsibility of man. Again, Acts chapter 2, Peter is rehearsing the story, and he says, this Jesus was delivered up by the definite plan and foreknowledge of God, and you Jews put him to death. So you see those two twin things there. God is sovereign, and the Father delivered up the Son to death, and the Jews were sinful to kill him. Those are the two things. They're side by side. And I was reading another book that said, you know, is John Frame. He's a professor at RTS Orlando. He might be retired by now, but he's got a systematic theology book, and he says that he makes the case that the Bible's view of God's sovereignty and mankind's responsibility, it doesn't try to reconcile those two. It's a philosophical problem for us sinners, but we think it's either all one or the other, and the Bible's view is that it is yes. Right. So, and this is one of the biggest, the most fleshed out stories that shows these things. Because again, think of all the choices that the brothers made all along. Think of all the choices that everybody made in this all along, but God was using those. He was working in, with, through, and against them to make sure that Abraham's family would be preserved.
Can I do the front door?
Yeah, thank you. So, the big reveal here. It was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh. This is verse 8. And Lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Father to Pharaoh, not literally father, but advisor, almost somebody in charge of. And in a way, he's caring for Pharaoh, right?
It's like an honorific.
Yeah. All right, so goes on in 9.
He wants his father to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Get back up north. Yeah, get back to Dad, right?
Yeah. I want to see Daddy.
I want to see Dad. God has made me come down to me, do not tarry. And then he tells him there in 10, you shall dwell in the land of Goshen. You shall be near me. You and your children and your children's children and your flocks and your herds and all that you have. So any kind of question about how, any kind of question that the brothers would be like, is he just kind of tolerating us for now while no, come, be close to me. We've been apart all these years. God sent me here. Children and your children's children. Verse 11, there I will provide for you, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have do not come into poverty. The Lord has sent me here, using your knuckleheadedness, so that our family can live. Verse 12, now your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see, that it is my mouth that speaks to you. Benjamin is the only one who's not a schemer that we know of, like all the other brothers.
I was thinking, how much did Benjamin really know about him? What kind of stories had the brothers? Because, here he threw his arms around him and wept, and then Benjamin embraced him, weeping too.
Yeah. So there was.
We don't know how many years apart they were. I mean, he could have been 2 when they sold Joseph.
But wasn't it 20 years and Joseph was in Egypt?
No, I mean,
Well,
the years between. I mean,
Right.
did Benjamin have a recollection of Joseph, or was he older? We don't know.
You'd have to. Somebody somewhere has probably done the work.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, so you must tell my father of all my honor in Egypt and all that you have seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. Hello. How are you? Come have a seat. Come have a seat. Welcome, welcome. That's no problem. We're in Genesis 45. Yeah. And so, tell my father. Then in verse 14, then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. And so, all the brothers are watching this, and they could say, this could be an opportunity for them to say, see, he's just like Dad. Right?
He is.
Yeah.
But he is.
Well,
Well,
But when the
It's a
portion
low
to
bar.
Benjamin gets more,
but then
still
what
getting
happens?
more.
But then what happens in 15?
Okay. And he kissed all his brothers, and they all cried.
Okay, so it's now we're finally, the full reconciliation has come. And we know that because now the brothers are doing what? In 15.
They're crying,
They're crying and they are
Kissing,
kissing.
talking.
talking with them. Right? So now they're talking with them. So that's a sign that they've, that this reconciliation has happened. He's removed all the barriers. He's no longer an Egyptian. He's part of the family. He always has been. And he comes and embraces Benjamin. Then he embraces all the rest of the brothers. So it would be interesting to hear what they're talking about, right? It would be very interesting to hear what they're talking about.
I'm sure Benjamin did know about, because his dad would probably have been talking about him all those years, and kind of
But he
making a
didn't.
hero out.
But he didn't know they sold him.
No, but even if he thought he was dead,
Yeah.
he'd still, oh, Joseph was so good.
Right.
He was so down.
It would be interesting if he said, Benjamin, do you think your dad loves your brother Joseph more than he even loves you? Right? Did your dad give you the impression that Joseph was better than everybody else in the whole world? Right? But we don't know. We don't know. Verse 16, when the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come. It pleased Pharaoh and his servants. So it turns out even Egyptians love families, right? And so what happens from 17 to 20 there?
He's telling them to go back and we'll provide the food and the carts and everything, so you go get my dad and all the family and come back.
Interesting, huh?
Well,
So I think this is the second, if you want to, so what happened in the Exodus when they were leaving Egypt?
They were slaves. How did they become slaves?
Well, it happens, I don't remember which chapter, but it said eventually there's a Pharaoh arises that did not know Joseph.
Okay.
I think that's what it
Okay.
says maybe in there, right? It might be in the very beginning of Exodus where
Okay.
it says that.
Okay.
So when they're leaving in the Exodus, what happens?
they took everything.
They did. Right.
They ask the Egyptians, can you give us stuff? Oh, yeah.
Go.
And
Go.
they call that the plundering of the Egyptians. Well, this is like a foretaste of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was also, I think, another time when they had come down, somebody in the family had come down to Egypt and they sent him back fully stocked or something. So here you've got the riches of Egypt being sent back to the family. They go out with a blessing. They fund the trip, right? Here's the cars. Here's the fuel, right? And come back and you'll have all the best. You shall eat the fat of the land. What have you got there in the last part of 18? What do your translations say?
Fat of the land.
same thing.
Yeah, it is. Does somebody
Much
have
fat
enjoy the
can
fat
there
of the
be?
land?
There's a
Uh,
famine.
You can, yeah.
Well,
Right.
But
You
you'll
can
be getting the
enjoy
best of the
You
land
can
in
enjoy
Egypt.
the fat of
Yeah.
the land.
So
but they're not starving
no.
like everybody else.
Because you are Joseph's family, when you get back here, you will have the choicest spot. Pretty amazing. Okay. Have no concern for your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. Then in 21, the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh and gave them provisions for the journey. And then verse 22, I've tried to point out all along, every time it happens, what happened? What's a feature of the Joseph story that shows up here again?
Oh, good old Benny gets a lot.
Benny gets a lot. What else?
Well, 3 changes of garments.
They all get changes of clothes.
Yeah.
So, you know,
But
when
he
you read
gets 5.
when you read through it again, you can, you know, Joseph gets the coat, he gets stripped of the coat, he gets, you know, a change in clothing. That's a fairly frequent feature in the life of Joseph. And here it is again in the story.
300 pieces of silver. That's a lot.
That is nothing to sneeze at. That is not a $3 gift card to Starbucks.
And they won't even get you a cup of coffee.
That's right. That's right. All right.
So is the brothers thinking, oh, now we
I
gotta get
mean,
rid of Benjamin?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing.
So
There's
Joseph
favoritism.
I would make the case that Joseph is, at least by this point, convinced that they're not going to off him on the way back. I think he's
Benjamin,
I think
yeah.
he's convinced of their concern and repentance, but
But,
it's open.
But then he says, don't quarrel on the way.
yeah.
Well, there could be 1,000 things for them to quarrel about, right?
Not the least of which is the fact that Benjamin got
Also
preferred,
that,
right?
Yeah.
You got the coat of many colors.
Because think of Cain and Abel. When Abel's sacrifice was accepted and Cain's was not, what should have Cain's response been to Abel's sacrifice being accepted?
Why was yours accepted?
Well,
Mine
what should it
not?
have been?
What should, yeah, like, why is yours
I'm happy
okay,
for
mine
you.
not?
I'm happy for you,
Okay.
right? That's the essence of love.
And what could
right?
I have done better, maybe?
The Lord has
Yeah.
blessed you. I would love to rejoice in that with you,
Yeah.
right? Instead, what was Cain's response?
Envy.
The Lord has blessed you. Now I got to kill you,
Yeah.
right? So to be the brother's keeper, you weep when they weep and you rejoice when they rejoice. That's Romans somewhere in there, okay? And so hopefully they would say, man, little bro, can you believe these 5 suits that you got? Right? Because that's what Jesus would have done if he was there. Because he would be his brother's keeper. All right, so he sends them back. Don't quarrel on the way.
I want to know how the bread's gonna go for 3 months.
Maybe that's just, you know,
maybe
it's a little snack bag size of chips to get
I
out the
read
door.
that, I go, oh.
My commentary says about the quarreling, he says he wanted them to avoid mutual accusation and recrimination concerning the past. So it's
I
like,
think that's the
Yeah.
gist
Yeah.
of it, right? It's another version
It was
of,
your-
okay, let's get, yes, this happened, but we can't live that anymore.
No.
Because we are on the other side of that, right? But again, you know, when he broke down earlier, he didn't minimize what they did. You guys sold him into slavery. He didn't just say, and that was fine. But nevertheless, God is stronger than that, and he worked against you, knuckleheads. Right? Okay, so they send them away, and they get up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan to their father Jacob. And what happened there to Jacob in 26?
well, he didn't believe him.
He was stunned.
He was stunned.
Yeah.
I've got, his heart became numb, for he did not believe them. Now, why would Jacob not believe them?
Oh, he's been gone so long.
And the boys
Well,
planned.
you told me one story, Now you're telling me another story. You made me think one thing for 20-something years.
Yeah. It's little wonder that the schemer would always be suspicious of others,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Because maybe the schemer knows himself a little too well. So his heart is numb. Now, he could be numb, thinking it is too good for it to be true. Not only is Benjamin back, but they're telling me that Joseph is alive. That could be in the mix there somewhere, right? But when they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said to them, and when he saw the wagons or the carts that Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. So his heart was no longer numb. At the hearing that his precious son was actually alive, it brought him back to life. Interesting, right? And Israel said, "It is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go see him before I die." All right? So that gets us to the end of the chapter. Thoughts or questions there?
It's exciting.
It is. It's,
Well,
when we pick it all apart so granularly, it can be hard to miss the drama.
No.
Easy to miss the drama, I mean. So that's why I'm interested in seeing how the sight and sound people
When
deal
are we
with it.
gonna see that? When we're
When
done
we're
with
done
it?
with this,
Okay.
when we're done with 50. You know, again, and then I think the thing that came to my head was that this old preacher's saying that God can draw straight with crooked sticks. And that's what has happened here with this family, and continues to happen with Jacob's family. You know, there's a section in Isaiah 10 where he talks about he's going to bring in the Assyrians to judge so-and-so. And then when they're done, he's going to judge them for their haughtiness of their hearts. The Lord can sweep clean with a dirty broom is another version of that. And we see that here in the story of Joseph. All right, final thoughts or questions for today?
I did the math. 500 miles you could walk without being, some super soldier in a month.
that's uphill all the way.
Yeah,
Feel both ways in the south.
right, help me out, yeah, and sand.
All right.
It would not be, if you were a strong athlete, you could probably get it done in a couple weeks, but
Yeah. Well, with 10 and donkeys and...
Carts, yeah.
Carts and all that
carts,
stuff.
no problem.
All right, well, let me pray for us.
Wait a minute.